everybody. I wanted to make a video. I just watched the Blog Talk Radio show with my boyfriend, Prince Lord Chris, and on Randall, Worldwide Christian's Blog Talk Radio show that was tonight. And I tried to call into the show, but apparently there were some audio problems, and so I wasn't able to connect. And I did have some comments that I wanted to make, so I'm making this video instead, and I'm going to hopefully be able to attach it to Randall's announcement for the show. I had some comments just that I wanted to make about some of the subjects that were brought up. The first one was, I think it was Randall's co-host, who's known on YouTube as Keybar100. He made a comment about why there's so many angry pagans on YouTube who have kind of a disdain towards Christianity. And, Randall made a point about people being ill-prepared for other religions, and I think to a point I can see that from the other perspective where someone had not been part of that religion. For example, Christians who encounter pagans and do so negatively. Do so because they don't really quite understand where pagans are coming from and therefore don't know how to approach them. And I can see where Randall's coming from that perspective, and I agree with that. When it comes to pagans who are negative towards Christians, a lot of times it comes from previous experience. And I'm not saying that that allows people to treat Christians poorly. Now, if Christians are treating them poorly, then I say fair game. I say if someone comes up to you and starts bashing you, then you have every right to, kind of tell them like it is, right? But other than that, if you're not disrespected, then you should not disrespect other people. And I see a lot of Christians where the first time they'll approach and talk to a pagan, they will put their foot in their mouth and say something that will irk somebody. For example, there's a couple different aspects. Number one is the moral high ground, where Christians will try to take the moral high ground with people and say that, Christianity has like a patent on morality, which I personally don't think they do. I think that there's kind of a mixed message with the morality of, Christianity. Not saying that Christians are any less moral than anybody else. I think pretty much all religious people are about morally equal. There's bad pagans and there's good pagans. There's bad Christians and there's good Christians. When it comes down to it, there's going to be people out there of every religion that make mistakes and everything like that. But when it comes to how the morality is described in the Bible, I disagree with a lot of it. And so I think one of the first problems is, that there is this assumption that pagans go to paganism because they can't live up to some sort of moral standard that's set in Christianity. I personally think that for a lot of pagans, they consider their moral standard to be higher than that of Christianity, but it's definitely different. There are things that are left out and other things that are added. There's things that basically that have different emphasis. So in other words, most pagans don't emphasize abstaining from sex as a moral issue. But they do consider stewardship of the environment, for example, to be a moral issue, and one that most Christians don't consider to be a moral issue. So for a lot of the Christians that I've talked to, one of the first things they do is try to take the moral high ground. And I'll give you an example. There was a video that someone did to me quite recently. I can't remember his name, but one of his channels is John Marcus 7, and he made a video response to me where I was talking about something that was taken out of context, where I was talking about pagans who practice animal sacrifice and things like that, and some of the lesser known practices of certain pagan traditions. And he immediately took the moral high ground and said that Christians don't do those type of things because they're so much religiously better. And it's those type of statements, I think, that get pagans riled up. The second thing that I think a lot of Christians assume when they talk to pagans that kind of, puts their proverbial foot in their mouth is assuming that pagans were either never Christian or have no knowledge of Christianity or the Bible. It's actually quite the opposite. I know a lot of pagans who were, not just well versed in the Bible, but clergy before they became pagans. I'll give you a couple examples. Rich Allen 77 here on YouTube graduated from Bible college with a degree in, I think, biblical studies. Please don't quote me on that because I don't know the exact degree, but I do know that he graduated with a Bible college, and that man will own most Christians on Bible knowledge. Secondly, Tannhaus used to be a pastor, or I think a youth pastor, one of the two. But the list goes on. There's several people who, before they discovered paganism, immersed themselves in their own spirituality first. People who convert from one religion to another are usually very spiritually centered. And so therefore, before they discovered the religion that they're currently in, they usually try to immerse themselves in something else first. And for a lot of us, because Christianity is the majority religion in the United States, that religion would be Christianity. So to assume that pagans don't know the Bible, don't know Christianity and its purpose or anything like that, kind of irks pagans. It's a stereotype. And I'm not going to say that there aren't, stereotypes that are flying from either side. There's a lot of negativity going on. And I myself have unfriended and unsubscribed to a lot of the pagans here on YouTube for simply Christian bashing. Because I don't think that it's right to assume that all Christians are, going to hate you and condemn you and yell at you for being pagan. There are a lot of Christians out there that are decent folk, and they should be acknowledged for being decent people. There's a lot of bigots too, but there's bigots in every religion. Paganism is no exclusion from that. There's definitely bigots in paganism. And so I think it's the bigotry that people have kind of experienced from that I think minority of Christians that has kind of gotten them to see all Christians that way. A lot of pagans I know think that all Christians are going to condemn you to hell and tell you that you're bad and everything like that. It's just, and therefore they don't want to associate with them, or they're automatically defensive. And that automatic defensiveness is what, sets them off when a Christian sticks their foot in their mouth. So, that negativity and tension, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this show was that the negativity and tension wasn't really there between the Christians and the pagans. Except for, I think, one area. And that was when P-Bar mentioned this to Chris, he mentioned it in the way of, why do you associate with these people? Why do you allow this on your page? I know that for me personally, I can't speak for him, but I cannot keep track of every single comment that every pagan makes. I cannot do that. I do tell people quite often that they should refrain from hateful language on my page, but I think that everybody interprets hateful language differently. And there was an instance on my page where I, with P-Bar, where he was saying that he was an ex-occultist and things like that, which is one of the kind of foot-in-your-mouth statements when it comes to pagans. Because if you say that you're an ex-occultist, they're going to challenge you on that. Because it's one thing that there's a lot of Christians out there today who claim to be ex-occultists, but when they open their mouth about the occult, they know nothing what they're talking about. And they can't get into specifics or anything like that. Shazaloo, he's a YouTube user who claims to be an ex-occultist. When we questioned him on the occult, he seems not very knowledgeable, and that's a very common thing here on YouTube. Carol Konaki, she's another one, says that, she had all these demons surrounding her and everything like that, but really what it comes down to is she didn't know what she was talking about, and she collects money and tries to convert people based on her quote-unquote experiences. And so when P-Bar claims to be an ex-occultist, he's got to expect people to challenge him on that statement. And he cannot take offense to their challenge. And he was offended by people challenging him, and when he refused to keep up that challenge, they, basically accused him of lying about it, and then he asked me to remove the comments and to block those people. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that, because those people have a right to question you. And if you're going to comment and say things like, I was an ex-occultist on my page, you gotta expect people to do that. So I think that P-Bar's got a little bit of an issue with what he considers to be, blasphemous or offensive. He's got to expect that people who don't believe in his religion to question things that he considers to be common knowledge. And therefore, he's going to be offended sometimes by the things they say, but I do agree that people don't really phrase things correctly. At the same time, the thing that P-Bar was talking about, I can see it being taken a little bit out of context. It seemed like a little bit of a gotcha type thing to me. Anyway, on to my other point that I wanted to talk about, which is the lone caller that did get in talked about what the purpose of Greek paganism was. I too am a newly converted Greek pagan. I don't consider myself to be a practice of reconstruction or Hellenismos, but I consider myself to have a deep belief in the Greek gods as well as a deep magical practice, and in kind of a modern sense, more than a reconstructionist sense. And I can tell you that from my experiences, both on the collegiate level and reading and learning about religion, that I think that the purpose of all religion is the same, and that's enlightenment. When I was in religion class, my teacher said that the purpose of all religion was salvation, and I had to disagree with that because I don't believe that I need to be saved. Yes, there is a fiery realm called Tartarus in Greek mythology, but I don't believe I have any reason to go there. I mean, most people don't believe in the Greek gods, and I don't think that they go to Tartarus just for not believing them. So belief is not a requirement for salvation in my religion, and therefore it wouldn't be the purpose of Greek paganism. Nor would it be the purpose of most pagan religions. And so, therefore, the whole idea that religion is salvation would really kind of only apply to kind of Islam and Christianity, and maybe a couple other religions out there. But really, I think enlightenment is a better term for that. Now, how the different religions approach enlightenment is what makes them different. And I do think that there's many different paths to enlightenment. I don't think that you have to believe in the Greek gods to live an enlightened life and have a good afterlife, whatever that afterlife might be, because Greeks believe that there's many different paths in the afterlife. Enlightenment for Christians, for example, would be salvation, and living a Christ-like life to attain enlightenment. That's the goal, so to speak. For Greek pagans, it's loving our gods, and doing what it is that we're called to do by them. We get clear messages, at least I get clear messages on what it is that I should do. I think the Greek gods have been very clear to me in my life, and so the whole idea that, that there needs to be some purpose other than enlightenment, I don't know. I think that the purpose of all religion is the same in that aspect. It's how we get there that's different. Anyway, that is my 14-minute long video on comments. You see, I'm long-winded. It's probably good that the audio wasn't working. But anyway, I might peek in on your show again every so often, depending on who you're out on. And overall, I thought the show was really good. I thought Chris did really good in his answers. He hasn't been very long on the path, but he's well spoken, so in that way he's awesome. And I think that overall everybody was respectful, and I think that if we get religious dialogue going between people where there's no kind of elitism going on, the whole old, sheep versus goats type thing, where, the one person is automatically assumed to be damned or dirty or less moral or something like that. When it's just people, humans, talking about their religious perspectives, all the rest of that negativity that you see on YouTube kind of falls away. And so I think that was probably the best part about the show, is that there really wasn't much of that. Anyway, blessed be, and I hope you approve this video.